Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the podcast where we're moving the conversation forward about the choices you make in your daily life. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I'm here right alongside of you, learning, growing, observing, and trying to make better choices consciously and subconsciously. Together, we're going to become better versions of ourselves and have raw, honest, open conversations about the things that truly affect our lives. And maybe, just maybe, finally get to a place where everyone else's BS doesn't trigger us. I stayed away from social media during the whole coming up to the clips because I was like, you all cray cray. You all the world is gonna split and it's gonna come. I was like, you were saying this shit last eclipse. It didn't happen.
But also people act as if eclipse season doesn't happen every freaking year. It happens every
Exactly.
freaking year. Like
Yeah.
clockwork, because literally the sun and the moon and the earth revolve
Align.
and go and they align every single year. This is it's a circle, so of course you get back to the place. You know what I mean? It does
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I fully believe that we're going to have people who seem like they exist out of time. I do believe that there are those of us that very much um get to this place where it doesn't really matter how expensive things get because we always have enough money and more. There's going to be those of us that we don't we're not struggling to learn things or find people that can help us. And then there are going to be those people on the other side of it who do struggle and who don't have enough money. And I do believe that those people could utilize things like the eclipses, like the full moons, like the new moons to help them. They could utilize those energies to help them get to a better place. And some of them will and some of them won't.
Mm.
But I don't think that it's going to be this whole actual rapture where people disappear and end up in this ultimate alternate universe where we're separate. No, but the split is very much just, how do you view things? Do you view
Yeah.
your life as abundant, or do you view your life as subject to the government and to circumstance and situation? Or do you take ownership, and do you take personal responsibility, and do you make your choices, and do you decide to wake up every morning happy?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, this is so embarrassing, but when TikToks was first invented and you're on it and you're scrolling and you're hearing all these new age and new things and stuff. And I remember someone saying around eclipse time that the world is gonna split. And I remember thinking but I don't want to leave my husband, but he ain't he's not on no ascension himself. And I was like, well, where do the kids go? Do they come with me? They're just kids. And then I had to radically check myself, dude, that should stop. But I could
yeah,
see
and
how
then there's
people
people,
believe it, right?
right? Well, and then those people who are like, oh well, if you do your work, then the rest of your family comes with you, as if they don't have to do any work. They'll just ride on your coattails, which I also think is funny.
Yeah, well, my husband would definitely be like, we're on what you're on a crazy ass journey and I'm on it by default. Yeah, if you want to live in the same house. I don't really know what we were coming on here to talk about because I know Kim was supposed to join us. So if you
I don't
had
know
something
either.
okay, you don't. So let's talk about politics then. Because
Okay,
I
let's
want to
do it.
get this out before November's over and then no one's talking about it. Okay, here's my big thing about politics right now. I do not believe there is anyone on this planet that can swoop into the White House and spread their crystal dust and everything's fine. We
Hmm.
know that's not going to happen.
We hope people know that.
Yeah. I hope people do.
It seems like there are a lot of people that believe that that is the case, that if
That
they
could,
just pick the right person,
yeah.
then it will fix everything. And to those people, I say, you don't remember middle school or high school government class when you learned about the three different systems and who actually makes decisions and
Abigail, let's just slow
how.
down there. No one remembers that shit. And we all deleted that like the moment we graduated. Absolutely fucking not. The only people who remember that are the people who like wanted to go into politics and thought they could make a change and then like got into it and then were like, peace out, I'm out. This stuff is shit. It's corrupt. There's no three system. Like it's all one color and it's purple.
Oh my. And that so answers then why we are currently living in a country that doesn't seem to understand why we are where we are. Like people
Well, do
have these
you?
conversations with me and I'm like, this is not a mystery to me.
Yeah.
Like people are like, well, why do you think that this? And I was like, is that truly, are you asking me because you truly don't know the answer? Or because you feel like this is some mystery? I was like, this is no mystery to me. This was explained to me years ago. 20 years ago,
In
this was
my free
explained to me.
education.
Yes, it might because I went to proudly to public school. They actually understood what to teach, and I learned. This is not a surprise.
Yeah.
So
But do you think because so many people disengaged and just wanted an easy life and didn't really want to know the ins and outs of it, and obviously our government has gotten just crazy out of control, right? Like I feel like there's no checks and balances. There's no kind of like they
no.
can really kind of do what they want to do, and even if it's like the backdoor way.
Yeah, yeah, and the whole idea of like the, you know, Congress helps check the executive office, which helps check the judiciary office, right? Like the Supreme Court, like that. It's all kerfuffled because it's not about like bringing in people who are unbiased. And even if we like leave that aside and say people can be biased, that's fine. They can still be in those roles. Having people who are open-minded, there's too many people in every one of those branches that are about a party line and bringing their party's whole belief system into the culture, into the country, and creating a country that is based off of one belief system. So I would say that it's a couple of different things. So people, yes, like didn't learn, like they learned it and then let it go, or they didn't learn it and they never thought to learn it. But I think that the other part is that we're way too interested as a culture in superhero culture. Like Americans really love the idea of a Captain America. They really love this idea of Superman flying in, this one person, this one superhuman individual who's going to fly in and change everything with their goodness and their strength. And I'm like, y'all are fools. Like it's that's make believe. Now come down to earth and understand that if you fall for this idea that a person who says that they are a part of a party, who believes in one specific set of things, and their goal is to come in and bring that ideology into how they run the government, then you have lost already.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that is your take on abortions, whether that is your take on capital punishment, whether that's your take on the prison industrial complex, whether that's your take on war and defense spending, whether that's your ideas on economics. If you believe that one person who has one ideology is going to come in and be able to fix all of those things for the betterment of 360 million people, you have lost already.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny
And
because
unfortunately, that's what happens.
yeah, I lived in the UK for 14 years and, seeing a different way of government that you don't elect a person, you elect a party that most represents you. And I know that that's kind of the way here in America too, right? And most people just vote.
It's definitely moved to that way,
But
I would say.
there's no I mean they started getting pretty bad, like they started moving towards the American way, but it was a very short election. It was like 2 weeks. You didn't hear shit about it and you're like, "Oh, I got to vote." And it wasn't about necessarily the candidate because when that party is in power, let's say, and the candidate isn't performing to the party standard, who's like the prime minister, he or she gets kicked out, which I think is fucking amazing because they're held accountable for their actions of how they represent the party as a whole, or how the party is being represented as a whole, right? Like, obviously, it's not them doing bad things or like not the right thing. It's they can feel the way the people are feeling, and they're like, okay, we need a new face. We need a new face because we're losing faith. And I think that's what's so crazy. And I know I got swept up in it with Obama, is that you had this amazing characteristic
Yes.
man who was young enough for people to relate to. And it's funny because one of the things you said to me about RFK and like his voice, Obama has this amazing, like articulate, like he, can sell ice to
Well, yeah.
Eskimos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I probably didn't see until like after Trump got in, but it was like this facade. And not that I don't think that he truly believed what he was saying, but was it ever going to be possible for him to do what he said he wanted to do when you're in this uh corrupt system, right? Like Michelle Obama is like
Right.
healthy kids thing. She wanted,
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that or ever clocked
Yeah.
that. She really
Yeah.
wanted to get these kids healthy because it's an epidemic,
Hmm.
right? And it was
Hmm.
shut down. It went like
Yeah.
quite quiet because I don't care what you believe. You cannot deny that it's not really the politicians that we are electing running the system. It's like, aren't we the only country that allows the oh God, what's the word? Like where they give you money. The the
Oh, like you're thinking of oh my goodness, I know this word.
right? What is it?
Hmm.
Not
Um,
campaigning, it's lobbying,
yes, yes. I
right?
was like, what the F?
What
But
is that
yes,
word?
and I'm not sure if we're the only one that allows lobbyists and allows for like private, like big big corporations to back candidates. Um, I honestly don't know that. I would be interesting to figure that out. But it is it is interesting that we just we hope that one person who can speak well and has this idea of we can be great, and we can continue on being the forerunner of the world, can get 434 people to back that idea. That one, and this is where I'm like, and this is the problem of the whole like superhero ideology that we all seem to hold, because that's exactly what we do. We put this one person up on a pedestal and say they're going to change the minds of almost 500 people
Hmm.
who are making the rules, who are making the legislature, who are, making laws be pages and pages and pages, shoving in laws that are undercutting how we live.
Yeah.
And that we spend so much time every 4 years getting so deep. I would
Right.
love, what I would really love is I would love to see us get really really up in arms about term limits for more than just the presidency.
Hmm.
I would love to see us get really up in arms about who we vote into Congress, both our representatives and our Senate. I would really love to get up in arms about how our Supreme Justices are elected, because, oh, wait, if we forgot, they're not our choice. They're not popular choice. They're the choice of the president, who's in power only when one of them dies.
Right? It's so fucked
Okay.
up.
So right now, right, Biden won't put anybody into office in the Supreme Court because all of them are still alive,
Hmm. It's
right? So
it's
unless one of them
mental.
dies,
It's mental.
right?
Yeah.
Right? So where we have gotten now, like, and people don't seem to like figure this out, is you had Roe v. Wade be overturned because, not because of who was in office at the time necessarily. I mean, I think Trump put in two, I
Mhm.
think, one or two, at least one.
I think one, yeah.
Um, um, but he only put in one of nine. The others came from the presidents who came before him, right?
Yeah.
So it's this culmination, right? And we don't get up in arms about it. We don't say shit about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
2/3 of our government we don't talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're the part of the government that actually is changing things. That's actually really fucking changing things.
Yeah.
And we don't even care.
But what, like, what's your line of thought, right? My brother's best friend wanted to go into politics, and he was like smart enough and charismatic enough to actually do it. And he went to college and he started getting into it, and um he was like out. He was like, no way. It's so corrupt. I'm not going there. So is there any hope? Like, who in their right mind stays in this type of um tit for tat government, right? Like, you got to do things to get, like, how is there any hope when it is so corrupt? And are you are we ever really going to get someone who is there for the people? And that can and if you do get someone who's there for the people, how do they make any change?
Yeah. I would say we won't see it necessarily in our lifetime. I would say that the best like path that I can see for reaching a space where we're no longer beholden to people who are 3 times our age, um, really comes from, one, the young voters taking a stand and doing so consistently. I really loved what you said in one of the last podcast episodes that I was listening to, where you were talking to Jacqueline, where you were like, you said you had to let go of this thought that your actions meant nothing. That even if your action was just a small stone being dropped into a lake and was creating just a few small ripples, those ripples meant something. And I believe that that's very true. I believe that we all need to start thinking like that. And I think we all need to really really start looking at the younger generations, our generation and younger, um that and find those people who are mature enough and intelligent enough, but are younger. I'm so sick and tired of people being like, well, it's only the older people, the people who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s and whatever, who are old enough, meaning they're wise enough. I'm wiser at 35 than most of the people in my life, including the old people in my life. And that's not because I disrespect them, that's because it's a fact.
Yeah.
Like, and that might be arrogant to some people, that may be naive to some people, but I look around and I see their bias, their bigotry, their hate, and their prejudice. And I'm like, I'm over that.
Yeah.
I'm over that.
Yeah.
And I'm also not willing to sacrifice in the same ways that they were willing. They were willing to sacrifice their honor and their privilege, whereas I am not. My integrity is not for sale.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of us who are our age and younger that have that same belief system and believe that their actions mean nothing. So when we can start getting the young people to believe that their actions do matter and that their integrity matters, and get the ones that want to make change, who are interested in politics, to get into it and actually back them, then we can start to see a turn of the tide. But
Yeah.
until then, it's where we are right now.
I think that's the thing because it can feel so hopeless. And so over on TikTok, obviously, I follow people who are either in a mindset or health and wellness or like people who are forward thinking, right? And so when they bring up politics and like stop short at it's only a two-party system and
Mm,
Kennedy's in the running. And like this is the
mm,
closest thing that we have to a third person, right?
yeah.
No one has ever got this close. And I don't know. It'd be interesting to look that up. When's the last time a third party actually had a chance? And I'm not, you know, a chance. I'm going to say it. But I said to him, why, why are you stuck in that mindset? Because you know that your mindset, you create your reality and you know your belief system creates, helps create it. So if you're sat there believing as someone who I think maybe is an elder or is a little bit wiser for their age, who knows this game of earth,
Mm,
and you're still sat there saying it's not going to change. It's not going to, well, it's not going to fucking change. If you believe that,
mm,
how are you going to get someone who isn't even into this shit to believe that it could change? I was just on a
mm,
call with a client, and we're just trying to get her cycles back, right? And she said to me,
mm,
like, Monica, you know, is this some wild goose chase? Am I searching for unicorns? Is this just, is it? And I said, who fucking cares? Search for the unicorn. What, like, if you sit in the mindset that that is not a reality, it's never going to be a reality. But if you sit in the mindset that it is a reality and it is a possibility, it's just gonna am I gonna say it's gonna make it happen? No, there's lots of other factors. But that's where I feel like with the politics, what annoys me so much is that people aren't even willing to create a new reality in the illusion of life. And that's
yes.
probably why I'm getting like, obviously, I support Kennedy. Like, give me my fucking tin hat. I'm here for it. I don't care anymore.
Ah.
Right? Like, I don't care. But there's that mind frame of like, well, it's not possible. It's never gonna happen. Okay, well, that you're just gonna help recreate that. And then there's the other side that Kennedy's had awful press or zero press on him for the last 20 years, right? He's an
Mhm,
anti-vaxxer. Like I asked this one guy and he's like, no, he said that COVID was designed to not kill off the Jews and blacks or something. And I was like, what? I said, you know, because I want to have these debates. I was like, oh, can you send me the article that says that? So he sent me to CNN and it was a CNN article, and I'm not joking. It was like, RFK said these remarks at such and such venue, but we can't show you the video. But this is what he said. And then just like said whatever they wanted him to say. Now, did he say it? Did you misrepresent what he said? Or did he not even say it at all? And I'm sitting there
Right.
going like, you're like I unfollowed him not because he's not an RFK supporter, but I was like, I don't trust the way your thought process is that you just take that article for fact. And then obviously he
Right.
went, well, he said that vaccine caused autism. And I was like, okay, we're done having this conversation. Did he say that? I don't know. I haven't done enough research to go back that far. But do I know that his vaccine um, quest to get better information, better regulations, better all that is so much more broad than him saying that flat out statement? Yes, I do know that. Um,
Right.
and and even there's a really popular news. Do you know News Under the Desk?
No, I don't.
Yeah, she's a woman who's like heavily into politics, and during COVID she just started this like News Under the Desk. And she would like
Nice.
literally sit under a desk and like report the
Oh my God.
news. Um I do
I'll definitely have to check
feel
this out.
I do feel that she tries to be non-biased, but and I personally feel this is irrelevant, but I do think this adds to the story. She's a white lesbian. And so
Oh,
she is definitely more on the side of left leaning. And she did a podcast about RFK. I haven't listened to it because I'm not going to spend 45 minutes of my time listening to that because her clip of it was literally like she went to CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and just read their like what they said about him. Even to
oh.
the fact that like AIDS, something like really awful about AIDS and gay people. And I was just like, fuck,
Mm,
like you haven't even taken the time to do your own research, and you're someone who i I like listening to the news from
mhm.
you because I know that you're not necessarily bought out, but now you're proving to me that you're using your biases, and you're literally just keeping us in this repetitive cycle of the two-party system. Because you said
Yeah,
something about the anarchy that is Kennedy or a third party. And I'm like, I'm so here for that
yes.
anarchy. Like, and that's why I share
Yes.
things on him.
Yes, and I think that it's good. I think that it's good to give platforms to, especially, and one of the things I'll say this, one of the things that I really love about what you share is where he's clips of him talking, giving resources of where you're able to sit and listen to the entire interview, because I want to be able to hear it from his mouth, like what he's saying, and make my own judgments off of that. I don't want to go to some article where, the article was written by somebody else and they're chunking out because it is probably never going to be. And the reason why I like that you're giving him a platform isn't because I'm just all in on Kennedy, but because I like the opportunity to be able to see what else is out there. Let's be honest, every presidential ballot has more than two parties on it. If you've never been to the polls, guys, I'm this might be revolutionary for you. Let me unveil for you that it's not just two people on the ballot and you have to go into your little cubby and you only have to choose from two. No, 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 no. There are like something like 20 some names sometimes on a ballot.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Green Party, there's the Independent Party. These people do make it onto the ballot. When we're talking, what we're talking about right now, when Monica says um, them having a shot, okay, what she's really truly telling you with the veil that she's lifting off is that you will find out what these people represent before you step into that ballot box and have to make your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because 9 times out of 10, you are going in only knowing two voices. These people are on the ballot, but you have no idea what they stand for. So realistically, the choice you are making is not saying, "Oh, I have these two voices in my head and I know what they stand for. I don't know what the Green Party stands for. I don't know what they want to do. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what this independent person is actually saying. So how can I actually put my vote to them when I have no idea who they are?
Yeah.
And that's what she means when we say actually having a chance. Because now you can go into the ballot and you can actually say, you know what, I know what these three people stand for, and I'm going to choose this one out of real, like, good critical thinking thought process. So
Yeah.
that now, if you're choosing Trump over Kennedy or over Biden, you're doing so off of hopefully many things, not just because you're a Republican and you're choosing the public Republican line, or
Yeah.
you're choosing Biden not just because he's a liberal, but because of so many other things, right? This is what we mean. So, and this is why I love, to go back to my original point, why I love that what you share, because it does truly give him that shot, whereas it has never been that way before.
No.
And I would say I would be just fine with more people posting what Trump and what Biden actually
Actually
are
are
saying,
saying
instead
yes.
of having to read article after article of some nonsense when I don't know that that's what Trump said. I don't know that that's what Biden said. Now, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I'm not a fan of either of them. But and that's because I have done other research outside of this. But I mean,
Well,
God.
let's just face it, you've listened to both of them speak, and it's like,
Right.
like
Right.
one can't put a sentence together, and the other one is just like on cray cray town. Like, give me whatever Trump is smoking. Like, I want to go. Like, he's just
I
in.
mean, honestly, it's actually quite insane, the level of, I don't even know what the right word is. The uh, fairy dust that gets sprinkled over both of those men. I'm just
Mm.
very, very curious as to how they believe that anything that they say has anything to do with the country.
All right, guys, we are going to pretend like it's 1992 and we are going to pause this episode. It's to be continued. This is called anticipation. If you have not felt this in a really long time, you're welcome. I think it's a feeling that we all need to bring back into our lives. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And thank you once again for tuning in and looking forward to continuing this conversation on the next episode. Thank you so much again for joining us here on Choices. You can go ahead and leave a 5-star review because we're all friends here. But if you really want to move the conversation forward, please connect with us on our social media accounts, which you can find the links below. Have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time here on Choices.